The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, callers, and advisors on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved.
Coming up tonight, BPL's line staff union says management is to blame for the absolutely unbelievable overtime. So the question tonight, were the times actually worked? Was the overtime necessary? And who approved the overtime? Union President Kyle Wilson is here tonight. The question for him, how did he come to make more than reportedly $20,000 in overtime pay in a month? This story has shaken an entire neighborhood. A teenage girl, after getting into an argument with a family member, left the house, hitched a ride with a stranger, and ended up being sexually assaulted. We have that story for you, and the stray dog problem to be addressed. This from Agriculture Minister Jomo Campbell, and more for you tonight. It's all straight ahead. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening, I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Well, it's a distraction, or is it a distraction to get Bahamians' attention away from the energy crisis, or is the disclosure about staggering overtime pay at BPL a blatant show that BPL's management is mismanaging the multi-million-dollar budget? BEWU President Kyle Wilson joins me this evening. Kyle, good evening to you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to see you again.
It's good to be back home. It's a pleasure to be here, Shanique.
You've not been here in a while. Maybe you've been busy working all those overtime hours. I don't understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you've been working hard.
Very hard. Very hard. Very hard.
Yes, Kyle, I understand. Let's start right with this evening. I understand two of the three people who were a part of that $600,000 overtime pay in about 12 months or so have been suspended?
Yeah, two of the persons have been suspended today. And you know, Shanique, I always refer to the scripture, and it's Jeremiah 1:19. It says, "They shall fight against thee, but they shall not prevail against thee, for I am with thee, says the Lord, to deliver thee." And I always believe in that, and it works. You see...
Who was fighting against who?
Well, like the Bible says in Ephesians 6:12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and the rulers of the darkness sometimes, you know. And there's a lot of darkness, ain't much light.
We know that.
Ain't much light, so there's plenty darkness.
Kyle,
there's plenty darkness.
The Bahamian people know about all this darkness.
There's plenty darkness.
You hear?
And what they want to do is shift the blame on innocent workers who are working according to their industrial agreement, right? And so we have an industrial agreement that has been registered. It has just recently been registered on the 24th of June, okay? And we would have known, you would have seen me over the years fighting and pushing for better salaries and emoluments for workers and conditions. And I've been doing that over my past I'm the first ever three-time union president ever of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union. No one has ever been voted in, and each time by a mega landslide, because the workers know what type of person I am. I bring honesty and integrity. Those persons, of which I am also a member of that department, we work hard. You see, people just think that you flip a switch and light comes on, but they don't understand that that energy first starts as fuel, which has to be de-inventoried from the boats. You have to put it into storage tanks. Then you have 23 plus islands with over 29 power stations.
So Kyle,
okay,
Kyle, you ain't come here to talk about what the union does and what the union doesn't do. No, thank you very much for letting us know. So it's only three y'all in that department.
Oh no. It is actually some about maybe 14 to 15%.
So what's the overtime really looking like then?
Well, that's the question. You leaked mine. Put it all out there. Put the chairman's salary, put the deputy chairman's salary, put everyone's salary to the public and let them see what you are paying. Why don't you take some of those expats whom you are paying allegedly over $300,000 to per year?
But we're not talking about salaries now. We're talking about overtime pay, because what we want to know, it was disclosed last night. Let's say, for example, Christmas Day, somebody worked 18 hours. In a 12-hour day, they work 18. And then for the next Boxing Day and the days after that, they work over 90 hours.
Yeah.
Is that reasonable, Kyle, for the Bahamian people to absorb right now?
It is. See, Shanique.
And what was happening to have a need for all this excessive overtime?
What behooves me is persons are asking the end user, the end person, to defend what management has asked them to do. I cannot get up, put on my clothes right now and go to the power plant and punch in a clock, write up a timesheet and tell them I did something. What did I do? Because whatever I did had to have been authorized from a senior personnel asking you what to do, telling you what time frame is to be done in. And once you do it, you write up your forms, you say a description of the work you did, how long you did it for, and two senior managers or senior personnel has to sign that and say they agree that what they asked you to do, you did, and they are satisfied. So if my boss, who is a manager, I'll call his name Mr. Bobs, he's suspended, his name has been out there. His boss, Mr. Jeffrey Davis, is the director of energy supply, who has also been a station manager, so he knows what works has to take place. So he signs Mr. Bobs overtime to say he supervised the work that was done. Mr. Bobs signs my overtime.
So you are saying the buck stops with management.
Absolutely.
Who in management is now crying foul
Yes.
when they approved, according to you, these outrageous hours that none of us could believe, but then we also know that what's involved with electricity and the rest of it.
I'm not going to allow the accountability to be placed on the shoulders of the workers that did the work. The work is there to show. The logs are there. The numbers are there. The reports are there. Everything is there. They're not showing you this. They're just showing you in a capsule, boom, this is what these guys did. This is what they have. You know what? That's called a red herring. You pick three, the very three that you may have an issue with. Oh, that's the union president. Let's get him. Or that's someone we don't like. Let's get him. That's Mr. Porter. We don't like him. Let's get him. But these are the very same three persons who signed a letter backing me up that I was bribed over $100,000 a month I was offered. I'm not backing down because I made the letter public, right? And so how is it that every person's name who was on that document about me being bribed and who witnessed it, even directors, they're all being singled and targeted.
Who bribed you?
I was offered a bribe.
By whom?
I put it in there. I'm not going to call the person's name, but it's all in there.
Someone in BPL?
No, but what happened is, I'm gonna let you guys know, the director, Mr. Davis, came onto the property with an unknown gentleman, and the gentleman attempted to bribe me. I then went with
Bribe
the
you
chopper.
for what? To do what?
Because he's saying that the company is offering him to privatize the work, and the amount of money they're going to pay him, he can pay me whatever I make in overtime and salary just to go home and relax. Okay, this
Kyle,
is documented. This is documented. I'm not backing off from
So
this.
you were saying if you really wanted to make this money
Yes.
illegally, you would have
Yes.
taken that
Yes.
versus this 20
Well,
plus thousand a month.
I would even go further. The gentleman offered me season tickets to the Miami Heat and the Dallas Cowboys and free travel.
There ain't no real
Oh,
teams
wait,
right
hold
now
on,
these
hold
days.
on, hold on. So the audit department admitted that this man admitted offering me the travel and the season tickets. And so isn't
Kyle.
that also admittance that you bribed me?
Kyle.
But I called the name, hold on, Shanique, I called the name of the BPL leaders whom he told me we'd be sharing this funds with.
The CEO and the chairman and the rest of them, are they aware of this? Because it
Yes,
looks
they
kind
are.
of sloppy from the outside
Yes,
to
they
the
are.
rest of us, especially when you all cannot keep the lights on.
Hold on,
right
Sinead.
now in Nassau, there are areas with no lights. I won't talk about the
Well, press
Lutheran
breaks.
and other.
Press
I won't talk
breaks.
about the Lutheran and other
I got
areas.
you there.
You were saying that all of this right here is a distraction. What is happening in BPL, Kyle? Because word on the street is that the linesman, is that what you are, a linesman?
I'm not a linesman.
Whatever it is that you are, what is that title?
I'm a senior technician.
A senior technician, and all the other technicians and all the rest of them
I work in the power stations.
don't quite know what they're doing, and that is why we're having, besides the energy crisis and the old and aged infrastructure, that because they are fumbling, that we are having all these issues.
Well, let me first of all correct you, Shanique. We do not work on the power grid. That's not what anyone in BPL does at the moment. Do you know what we do? We do strictly generation. The Bahamas Grid Company, BGC, I don't know where everybody's been living for the past 2 years when the government has been touting Bahamas Grid Company, Pike and all of this, and said that they gave them the grid. They are in charge of our grid, not BPL. Please stop mixing BPL with BGC. BPL has been split in two. There's a new company called Bahamas Grid Company. BPL subsidizes that company at the tune of $8 million to keep your lights on. Not us. My job is to generate. They're saying we have no generation issues. They're saying that we are generating power. The problem is distributing the power. And so they say they have all of these new substations they spent millions and millions of dollars on, Shanique. But are they servicing the people?
And what do you say, Kyle? Because you said that...
I'm saying we are being vilified, and it's obvious.
Yes. What are you saying, though, about this agreement? What is happening? What is not working?
What can I say about the agreement?
Something isn't working.
Well, Shanique,
whether it is you all with this exorbitant overtime. See, because we don't mind you all getting paid that money if people can go and rely on the power and know that day, night, morning, afternoon, they have power.
Shanique, we have been vindicated by the very powers that be that says we don't have a generation issue. BPL only deals with generation in Nassau. Now the T&D, we still have the family islands that BPL deal with, but Nassau is BGC. And so why is everyone jerking their head in the sands and playing almost crazy as if BPL still deals with generation? We don't. Please stop it. But you know what? I'll tell you this much. We, BPL, who people will clown about, we have the expertise. They can't do underground maintenance. Only BPL workers are the highest performing maintenance workers for underground work almost in the region.
So are BPL workers then absolutely taking advantage of that very, very esteemed position that only you can perform, you meaning that the grouping, perform the underground work, and deciding that we're going to do this underground work that you all say only us can do on overtime hours? Is that
well,
is
Shanique,
that what's happening?
I work for BPL, let's be reasonable here. If I work for BPL, I put in my hours at BPL, and you go and you ask me to assist the company that you gave the grid to, who claimed to have all of this expertise. See, everybody, I don't understand how Bahamians are thinking. We are vilifying Bahamians when they dissed us and gave the company away to a foreign entity to run and say they're better than us, and the foreign entity breaks off running, leaves it, and they say, you know what, the Bahamians were better at doing it than we were. We out here. Boom. Okay? And so we are helping.
I don't think that the Bahamian public is in any which way vilifying the group of workers who continue, and this is nothing new. Overtime has been hefty at BPL for many years. It's nothing new. I don't think we are vilifying you all. What has happened this summer has caused the issue with you all making $20,000+ a month, $600,000 in less than a year in overtime pay. It has just caused that to come to the light and to the forefront. Because what is happening with people, even right now, some people perhaps have to watch the rerun of the show. You know why? Because their power is off. That is something we can't settle with when we are to hear who is making what, how much you're making, and how comfortable you are making this, and not blaming your department and that department that you talked about. The fact is, how would you grade BPL's management in terms of this overtime pay? And I understand you say the generation is no issue there, but the point is, for us, all we know, BPL get it together. That's what we know. BPL get it together.
Shanique, I keep hearing you're part of the fourth estate. And what disappoints me right now in this country is no one is doing the research. You keep saying BPL. BPL, I've repeated over and repeated on this show right now that BPL is no longer in charge of generation. It's in the hands of Bahamas Grid Company. They just sent out a press statement and said they just hired a new COO. Their CEO told you to go on the beach. No one vilifying him. Who is their leadership? Who are these people that we're giving $8 million a month of Bahamian tax money too.
So then who is ultimately responsible for when the lights go out right now? That's been happening for the last 2 months or so.
Bahamas Grid Company. BPL is no longer in the generation, and the BPL is only in the generation market in Nassau. In Nassau, Bahamas, the transmission and distribution is solely the responsibility of Bahamas Grid Company. You're mixing the apples with the oranges. Our leaders have spelled this out to the nation over and repeatedly for the past 2 years, and everybody is just pointing the finger at BPL, who's no longer in charge of generation.
You were saying everything that this misery that the nation has been experiencing right for the whole summer is the responsibility and the issues that are happening with Bahamas Grid Company.
Absolutely. And not only that, Shanique, I've encouraged our skilled workers. You know, BPL trained me. I came in as an apprentice in '06, and I trained for 3 years to become who I am today in the company, certified by City and Guilds. I received one of the awards for top apprentice. I got 97% on my trade test. I earned my way to the top. And so BPL trained its workers to work on its system. And not only that, they're internationally certified. Our workers, we've exported our linesmen to Jamaica to help restore Jamaica after the storms. So we are experts, but because of the color, maybe of our skins, we are not respected. Shanique, I can tell you for a fact, I know of foreigners, right? Because they're foreigners, they make $700 an hour. BPL pays $700 per hour. I probably make a little over 30, maybe close to 40.
So let's go back to the overtime matter then. Let's go back to the pay. Let's go back to the management or mismanagement of funds at BPL. Let's go back there. Mm-hmm. Kyle, should there be an independent forensic audit about anything and the payments and all the agreements and the various contracts and all the rest of it, including pay and overtime pay and how things are running and the approvals by various management at BPL?
I think there should have been one before the information was leaked. If they genuinely cared about BPL, if they genuinely cared about mismanagement and what's going on, then the forensic audit, then maybe asking the police, financial services, crimes unit to come in, get these people in. But before you do that, you create the red herring of public distrust in BPL for your malfeasance, okay, and what you've been doing. I've seen the chair lady on the show, and I've seen her bragging to you about what she's going to do with the energy sector over a year plus. And I've seen it go backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards and backwards. Do you think I want to go home to darkness? No. I'm going to put in the hours necessary to ensure that Bahamian people get their lights on. Bahamas Power and Light workers are actually doing the work that Bahamas Grid Company is being paid to do.
So Bahamas
and no one is investigating that. No one is saying that, hey, we're paying $8 million to this company, right? I understand the COO of BPL said he had to go to Jamaica to borrow parts, but we don't do transmission and distribution. So why is the COO of BPL going to Jamaica to procure parts for BGC? What is that? And you're giving them Shanique, we gave them probably over $100 million in materials that BPL had in stores. We also gave them the trucks, the buses, the tools, everything. We probably even gave them the Joy and the dishwash cloth.
I'll tell you what it is, Kyle. Don't think for a minute that we are running away from. See, understand, it all for the average person, meaning me opposite you, you inside, you understand what all the stuff you're saying.
Yes.
Bahamas Grid, you kind of synchronized it and made it very clear tonight. We don't understand all the different bits and pieces all over, because the Family Islands have another deal and other small companies that are supposed to be providing generation.
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, you see what I just said just now? All the stuff coming together is now becoming crystallized in terms of, so Bahamas Grid appears to not be able to live up to whatever agreement it has in place. And you were saying as a result, BPL is being called on to kind of man the stations.
Shanique, after 2 years, right? And we're hearing that, okay, Mr. Eric Pike, he pulls out this deal and he leaves. And now Bahamians are taking over. But what deal did he pull out of? Okay? Since the people like to leak so much, why don't someone leak this deal, okay? And let Bahamians know what's going on. Where are taxpayers?
What deal? So what deal he put on?
I don't know, Shanique. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Just like how they say there's a lot of darkness, there's probably a deal that's done in the dark, and nobody could say what this deal is that the Bahamians are paying $8 million for per month for them to keep the lights on. But what they want to do, make BPL the whipping boy and taking advantage of the ignorance of the Bahamian people not to know the difference, that they actually split the company and they gave the majority shareholder to a privatization group. Yes, BPL is a minority owner.
So then you were saying as a result, because now you have really singled out Bahamas Grid.
Yes.
Obviously, they don't know what they're doing and they're not getting the job done well. You're saying this overtime that has been made by several people already for the year, that's not going to lessen and change anytime soon.
Shanique, see, people have to understand the maths. BPL's kilowatt hour is probably about 25 cents. Out of that 25 cents, and I challenge you to verify, maybe 1.5 goes towards salary and overtime. If you want to put that into percentage, that's possibly 5% of BPL's revenue that goes towards salary and overtime. How much money are we paying to third-party vendors? I just told you they hire people into BPL and they pay them as high as $700 per hour, 12-hour days, 7 days per week. And I dare them to prove me as the union president that I'm telling a lie, because I'm telling the honest to God's truth. And when you add that up, that adds up to almost $300,000 per month for one person.
I'll tell you what this sounds like to me, Kyle. It sounds to me like y'all will continue making this money.
Shanique.
And the reason y'all gonna make it is because, as you said, you all have to kind of man the stations, because why? Bahamas Grid isn't doing what it's been contracted to do. Also, Kyle, you are saying that really this is one big mess that not the average person does not understand and can't even make sense of. And so we will continue to cry, what is BPL doing now?
But my question is this, right? We have, and I said we have a director of energy supply, Mr. Jeffrey Davis, who signs off on these overtime forms. They go through about 10 different hands. Every leader in BPL sees them. You're trying to tell me you're just bringing up 2025 when we're almost 1 quarter away from 2027. You're digging up into the past. You're trying to throw a red herring at the Bahamian people so they forget about the wars and focus on who get what from who ain't get this or whatever. And I'm telling the Bahamian people, our focus is in the wrong place. We need to ask for a total forensic audit of the company from head to toe. All salaries, not just salaries, all contracts. I told you about bribes that are being offered for contracts. Let's see these contracts. Let's see these RFPs. Let's see if all of these are in line with the laws that govern proposals and govern contracts. Let's see what is happening in BPL holistically. Don't just point your finger at the end user, the worker who was asked to do this work. Okay? And if it's too much, then they should say, hey, someone, there should have been some stopgap measure. If they believed something's going on, you're going to tell me you're paying hundreds of thousands to leaders who are not doing their job? Come on, from this chair lady was brought in, it has been nothing but disaster and no one is being honest. I said openly, and I'll say it again on the show, that the chair lady, Bahamas Power and Light, needs to be removed. We need a new chairperson, we need a new board.
So you are calling for Christina, so you are calling for a shake-up to happen at BPL, starting with the chairwoman,
don't just vilify these two as a red herring and say you're doing something. Show us that you're really doing something, because the fish rots from the head down, okay? Don't do that to the workers. Let's be fair and let's look at the board, let's look at the directors, let's look at everybody.
Remember you came on the show praising the chairwoman and saying what a great job her and the CEO are doing in leading.
No, I would have spoke about the CEO. I would never say that about the chair, because this chair was in BPL
so you say
and she was dismissed by the former F&M government. And you have to find out why did the former F&M government fired the same chair from BPL.
My God, so you're trying to say the chairwoman signed this $600,000 plus, but how you just lump all this in her lap? All of this. Listen,
no, I'm not talking about the overtime. I'm talking about the overall state of BPL.
You were talking, my dear, about all the agreements, all of the various companies that have been engaged to supply power and to help with this energy reform. We understand that. What the Bahamian people are saying, though, we still don't understand it.
Let me make this one statement. Allow me to make this one statement.
Every other place.
Allow me to make this one statement. I am president of the union, and anything that goes down with this union, I am to blame. I can't tell you as a board member. I run this union. And so if it goes down, it's on me. And so if BPL goes down, it's on the chair. You all have to hold the leader accountable. Please stop putting it on the innocent Bahamian people. She runs BPL, and if she allowed this malfeasance to happen and overtime unabated, then she is to be held accountable. Please, let's be fair to us as Bahamian people and the workers. The workers are the end users. I will not allow innocent Bahamians to be held scapegoats for the malfeasance that's happening at BPL.
Well, I'll say this. This platform has always been open to BPL, whether it's the union president or whether it's the executive team. Come and talk to the Bahamian people, because the union president says, one, the chairman has to go, but also the various deals and agreements that are in place, especially with Bahama Grid Company, is not working and isn't making sense.
Shanique, what I didn't understand last night in the Prime Minister's speech is that he didn't speak to the leaking of data, the constant leaking of data in the government system. And this leaking of data is putting people's very lives at danger. He just spoke about BPL and the issues, right? But the main thing that he missed, that he must address, is there's too much leaking of information across the entire public sector that is leading to damaging people's homes, damaging people's lives, creating frustration. And it is just absolutely absurd that no one is touching this. No one is touching it. So what's next? Someone's medical business? Well, I am not using BPL insurance to take no medical for my medical business to be on the flagpole, because no one has yet to apologize for the breach of data information. That is a disgrace. And just on the fact alone that the chair lady did not apologize or have yet to make a statement, I say she must go.
Well, I'll say this. That's what you say. I say in this. Christina Alston, Tony, what is her new name now? Tony Pratt. You all come here and talk about this, because you all have to answer to these questions that the president that raised, and also what the Bahamian people want to know. He says the buck stops at the chair. Well, guess what? The buck stops with the two of y'all, because the two of them are running BPL. Who signed these overtime? What's happening with Bahama Grid, and what's happening with all the other companies that have been engaged to generate this power and help with this energy reform that we've been told about for the past 2 years? Kyle, thank you very much for stopping by this evening.
It's a pleasure.
I don't know if we got any further than when we started, but thank you
very much.
Thank you very much for being here. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel, and I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Luckily it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. They're big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like you can put on your blanket. But just look at that. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh, stop! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes you, processes you, and entertains you 24/7.
Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store wants to get you ready for back to school.
They have ready-made uniforms and uniform fabrics for almost every school in the Bahamas.
At Carrie's, find skirts, blouses, shirts, jumpers, boy shorts and long pants, neckties, socks, and more.
You can even have your uniform skirts custom made.
Check out our selection of embroidered cotton shirts.
That's Carrie's Fabric and Uniform Store on Mackey Street.
Call us at 393-0758 or 817-0758.
A lot of people know CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store thanks to our beautiful retail stores. But what you may not know is contractors love shopping here as well. Whether you need a flat rack of shingles, a truckload of drywall, or a pallet of joint compound, we can make it happen with unbeatable pricing, fast turnaround times, and excellent communication. That's why contractors love shopping with CBS Bahamas. Learn more at cbsbahamas.com.
1, 2, 3, what you gonna choose? Strawberry swirl, caramel too. Cookie dough bite, brownie swirl dream. Oreo crunch, make the whole team scream. Gotta be frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Gotta be frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Swirl it, twist it, taste that wave. Gotta be frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Cinnamon toast, on a cool vanilla. Chocolate base and the flavor gets bigger. Sweet on sweet, yeah, that's the fun. Better get one, better run, run, run. Gotta be frosty, gotta be Wendy's.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you all tuning in. I tell you, who all watched that last segment? Raise your hands. Just raise your hands. I see many messages and everything. I thank you all, by the way, for watching. You all, and I'll tell you, you all understood a lot of what Kyle Wilson, president of Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, was saying. It really is something that must be, and I know we've been hearing about this for the last 2 years, and it may sound simple to some of you all, but this is a quagmire of like they say, notice this conch salad is ordered. Okay, we know that we have the fruits and we have the conch, we have the herbs. This little different. But you know, I'm going to actually speak with and bring in the Hot Topics panel. You gentlemen, good evening to each of you. Michael Turnquest, Ellington Ferguson, Glenroy Pratt. We know overtime at BPL is a legacy issue like BPL itself. You heard the union president say, hold up, he ain't taking that. He is not going to take the fall for this because it's bigger than the overtime that we have seen and that was made public, I think, last week sometime. He pointed fingers to one, mismanagement at the very top, but also pointed fingers at a whole lot of other just mix-upness happening with various agreements, various contracts, and all the rest of it to go and generate this power and be a part of this energy reform. Gentlemen, good evening to each of you. Your thoughts on something that appears to not really be a very clear situation.
You know, Shanique, like you said again, you know, I've been a part of an entity which was quasi-government, then became a private entity, which had the same issue in terms of overtime. You know, overtime is nothing new for these organizations. This is something that's been plaguing these organizations for decades upon decades. So, you know, I sat and I listened to the last episode or segment, and I listened to the, to the union president, and it makes you ask a lot of questions because, you know, we know overtime has been plaguing BTC has been BPL. You know, one thing, you know, when you look at all the mix-up in terms of when you talk about Bahamas Grid and talking about them and they're now responsible for distribution, and BPL is responsible for, for generation. You know, it seems as though we created, when I say we as Bahamians allowed the government to create a vehicle, that being Bahamas Grid, to move monies, because how could a company be paying a company $8 million a month and then plus giving them hundreds of millions of dollars in equipment? You know, when are we going to continue to rape our own, you know, we continue to rape the country for the special interests? Because this is what it seems like. It seems as though, you know, the overtime, I'm pretty sure if you go back 20 years in BPL, you can find where persons would have made $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000
more than that, because Leslie,
a month.
Last night on this show, Leslie Miller said and brought documents to support what he said. Because remember,
BTC had the issue for many years.
He served as chairman of BPL.
I sat at BTC and we had that same.
In fact, he served the BEC, and he talked about hefty overtime. So this is nothing new. It's just now that the union president has brought other things to the table that he says is responsible for a whole lot of this mess that's happening.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, the unions, and you have to give credit to unions. You know, our unions, and I've never been a union person. I've always been the private entity, but they have created at the end of the day, if I was an employee, I would love a union to death, because what they have negotiated and what companies have allowed, they can only blame themselves. Any private entity would not sign on board to any company and take on a union because those unions are very expensive. At the end of the day, that's any executive management look at any union agreement, and any person who was looking to buy BPL, or when BTC was bought, the first thing that they look at was union agreements. And these are the things that they tried to negotiate, because they said there's no way in the world where there'd be the benefits they negotiated, or the salaries in terms of overtime they had to negotiate, and there had to be some type of leniency on both parts in order to say, how do we move this sail forward. And that's now you can see BPL still has the same issue that BDC once had. I think they have, with the new management or the new owners in place, they have curtailed that. But now BPL, this is nothing new. But at the end of the day, what needs to be answered is back to who owns Bahamas Grid. Why are we paying Bahama Grid $8 million for work that is not being done or carried out? And why is it that BPL is continuing, like the union said, we're giving continuous parts worth hundreds of millions of dollars to a company? It seems that it's a deal that they just, hey, come set up, we can give you everything and we can pay you, but you don't got to do nothing. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong.
Well, Shanique, good evening. Certainly, let me first of all take this opportunity to say congratulations to BPL Union on a job well done as it relates to negotiating on behalf of their employees. I think they have outmanned, out-negotiated whoever the government has had to the table with them negotiated, and they've got the best deal that they could have gotten at the time for their members. And I think that is one of the things that has been happening. Listening to you, Shanique, and Mr. Kyle a while ago, I mean, it frustrated me, it angered me, and it troubled me all at the same time to see it's a quagmire, and you all begin to liken it to Kong salad. Please don't do that. Kong salad is with a purpose. This, what Kyle explained is going on, this, what the Bahamian people have been experiencing from BPL, Bahama Grid, this whole energy thing, it appears, and Shanique, we have talked about it, we have applauded the efforts to transform the energy sector. Obviously, something is awry, something is not going as it was set out to go. Obviously, something is wrong with Bahama Grid. You heard none other than the Prime Minister himself on his national address last evening. He spoke in support of what Kyle was saying as it relates to there is not a generation problem, which is BPL's responsibility. Is the matter now is distribution and getting it out to the consumer, to the businesses. There is something wrong. There is something wrong. We knew initially when they brought this whole deal in, they were trying to get BPL workers to transfer over to Bahamas Grid. And I think if not all of them, a lot of them refused. They didn't want to do that because of some agreement, or whatever it is. But obviously this deal has come into a stalemate. Something is not happening properly. The union leader alluded to pipe pulling out and what has happened? What is going on? I think the Prime Minister, he was exhaustive in explaining some things, but there are some other things that was not explained. We see now, and Kyle alluded to it again, we see these three persons, or these two persons that have been suspended. We see these three persons, including the president whose salary have been exposed. From what I understood, Kyle is saying is more than them. Why they only single out them? We need to know exactly what is going on. If it's just these three persons collecting those kind of overtime, or if this is in the whole department, or throughout BPL.
Let's let Glenroy in. Glenroy.
Good evening, Shanique, and good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, colleagues. Listen, the challenge is this. There are several challenges here. One, we are blaming the union. None of us, no one that I know, can go on their job and work overtime without approval. Nobody can do that. Absolutely. You can't go on your job and tell the boss, look here, I'm going to work overtime today. That's me, sign off on this. The boss has to prove that. If the approval was given, you cannot blame the union guys. Furthermore, if the approval was given, that means the work needed to be done. There was a need for them to be there. So why are we blaming them? Why are we castigating them? I don't blame them. I blame the managers. I blame the leaders. I blame the government. And so we need to be clear on that. Furthermore, if something isn't making sense, which this whole situation isn't making sense, somebody's making money. And I constantly say that. And when we look at it, we're looking at the dollar bills that the union president and those who work the overtime has earned, but have not looked at the contract and the deals that have been signed that we are paying millions of dollars to the other individuals who are not performing as the union president indicated. If the union president stating that they have been responsible for generating the power, and the power is no issue from a generation perspective, then why, pray tell, that the Bahamas grid is not carrying out the power to the distribution areas that it needs to be distributed to? That is where the shortfall is. Further to that, we were assured as the public that these issues would have been gone away by the minister, that we would not have any of these issues. We are also assured that when we were in the peak of the challenges, in the peak of all these outages, and not one government official spoke, other than Pia Glover, when she challenged her own colleague to deal with this issue. And in fact, it was highlighted, and it was something that people came against her about. And so there are a lot of challenges in this whole situation. And I believe that we are looking at just a small man, and we are trying to use the small man as the scapegoat when we have a larger issue here. What kind of deal was signed with this Bahamas grid? Who are the players behind Bahamas grid? Why are the Bahamian people suffering as a result of Bahamas grid? Why am I paying excessive light bills as a result of this whole deal? And every year we've been facing high light bills since the government come to power. Further to that, the government, the Prime Minister himself, all right, has been in power, was responsible for BPL for 11 years. Don't forget, in 2012 to 2017, he was responsible as Minister of Works, and he was the Prime Minister for 6 years. So the problem is a legacy problem that he is also responsible for.
You know, one thing you have to look at, when you look at the economics of this, right? I'd rather pay the Bahamian workers of BPL $600,000 a year and basically get the type of, the skill set in terms of trying to help keep our lights on, rather than paying a company $8 million a month.
Exactly.
We talk about pennies. You talk about pennies, and I talk about, you look at peanuts and pennies, not peanuts, but peanuts and real money here. $8 million of the Bahamian people a month is going out, and we're here talking about $600,000 that was been spent over a year time.
Exactly.
I'll tell you in all of this, whether it's 600,000 or 8 million a month, I'll tell you what it is. The Bahamian people just want power on, and to know that whether it's morning, noon, or night.
Andres is out right now. Andres said they've been off from 10 o'clock this morning. Before I got on this show, someone called me, I don't know if Michael Turnker is responsible for Family Islands, but they called me cussing, and I say, sir, I'm not responsible. I don't work the BPL. But I am on a show that I can maybe say something, but somebody, and they've been off all day in Fresh Creek, Andres.
My God, has that area in Abaco been restored as yet? Somewhere in Abaco, like Kyle, has the area in Abaco been restored as yet? What is the area called again? Grand Key, Abaco. No? Yeah. Still off.
Yeah, that's where the guy lost his life.
He was on overtime, you say, working. I tell the union president could speak up, say the guy was stressed out working on overtime, and that matter happened. When we come back,
you gotta fix it.
When we come back, we are seeking answers in this, and this will continue to be a hot topic and a hot button issue for Bahamians the nation over. But when we come back, we're going to shift gears to tell you of a troubling incident that happened last night involving a teenager.
Nassau on all family islands. Get ready on Saturday, November 7th, when The Secret Production presents Culture Shock 2026, starring The Fireman, Camputan, The Cultural Warrior Sizzler,
Dry cry, even tears, even my heart cry,
and Anthony B. Saturday, November 7th at the Nassau Cruiseport Amphitheater. For Skybox inquiries, call 242-552-7505. Get your tickets now.
I'm so sad he does a rock.
think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound, one chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
We all know there are ways we can help. Your help can go even further. Be an everyday superhero. Donate to Hands for Hunger.
A teenage girl hitchhiking a ride from her family home last night after a row with a family member was reportedly sexually assaulted by the driver who stopped to give her a ride. Tonight, the girl and the neighborhood have been left shaken up by the ordeal. We get the story from Linton Ritchie Jr.
One alleged vicious attack on a 17-year-old girl has now rocked the Strongs Alley community, according to residents who, after hearing of the incident, says it's not a reflection of the Kemp Road area they've lived in for years.
We are like one family members. This area right here, it's just like Beverly Hills.
And the family living here, never have no problem with the neighbor, nobody. I surprised hearing that this morning.
The man who offered the young girl a lift allegedly drove her to a residence where she says she was sexually assaulted. Authorities say an argument at the teen girl's grandmother's home prompted the teen to leave and look for a ride. However, reports indicate that while walking just a short distance away, the victim reportedly accepted a ride from an unidentified male. The alleged attacker reportedly then carried out his attack before dropping the girl off at a friend's house in the Pinewood Gardens area. The alleged assault hit a little too close to home for 15-year resident of the area, Kevin Roll, who says his children frequent the area whether walking to and from home or simply playing in the neighborhood.
I was so surprised because around here it's a nice quiet place. I have kids, small nieces around too. That makes me feel very bad. So we gotta make sure I keep watching them and don't let them be out late in the night and stuff.
Following the news release of the assault, users wasted no time expressing their views. One user writing, quote, "Who's teaching these girls? Why would she go in the car and not know the person?" Another user saying, quote, "Stop blaming the victim," and another calling for the return of capital punishment. Similar sentiments expressed by Kemp Road resident Kivana Pinder, who was left shaken, but also questions whether the love for community still stands, noting there should be a zero tolerance for victim blaming.
It was very heartbreaking. It was very distraught. It's still a child, and you have mother and father hurting, and that's one of us. And when you hurt that one, you hurt us too.
Longtime residents here of the Strongs Alley community make it very clear that they're calling for the perpetrator to come forward, noting that although they may not know the identity of the young girl that was assaulted on Monday evening, they say it feels as if it hit right at home.
My 5 cents to this: when you get them, jail them. Don't let them see the city for the smoke. That's it. When you then get them, don't let them come back on the road.
An investigation into the incident continues. Up to news time, police had not confirmed whether an individual had been taken into custody for the incident. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
Gentlemen, you know, I chose to feature that story this evening because I think people must understand she was reportedly in an argument with a family member and left the house to go elsewhere. But whether that is the issue or you are somewhere else, do not catch rides with people you don't know, even with people you barely know. It's not wise to jump in a vehicle with somebody that you're not familiar with.
You know, Shanique, it's unfortunate that we see these cases, you know, just keep coming to the forefront and continuously happening. You know, at the end of the day, you know, letting a young lady leave the house after a certain time, that's one thing. Because at the end of the day, it won't be my daughter. I would, we'll be out on the road fighting for me to get her back inside. But these things, I think we really need to look at. Whether it be going back to the sex offenders list. In terms of persons that carry out these type of heinous crimes, just to ensure the public that persons to know where they are when they're frequenting a certain area. The court system, we need to make it's a lot of things that needs to be corrected to make sure that when individuals like this, and if everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But if things like this continue to happen, we really need to take a look at our society. We need to take a look at our court system to ensure that these persons, like the young lady say, they don't see the smoke for the light of the city or whatever. But they need when we put them in jail, whether they get the cat o' nine tail or something of that sort, if found guilty, these things people will really think twice before doing any sort of crime like this, because it's unfortunate to see this continually happen over and over.
Shanique, my heart goes out to the young lady. We know people in these inner cities. Whatever the issue was with her and her family member or grandmother, whoever she was with, that doesn't give no one the right to violate the young lady, regardless to what time of night she was walking or whatever the case was. Again, I share Attorney Cress's view that we need to look at make sure we send a strong message to these rapists, man. We've got to try to protect our young ladies as best as possible. Young men got to know that the law is going to come down on you on the full brunt. I mean, it's too much of our young ladies are being assaulted. Rape is on the increase right now. Every other day you hear about another young lady being assaulted. These men just think this is trivial. They could do in 2-3 years. Come on, man. Come on, brothers. Come on, brothers. We ought to be protecting our young ladies. And I think the law just needs to be more stiffer penalty for rapists. Rape is a serious crime. It's something that lives with people for the rest of their lives. It's a scar. Some people, it has a mental effect on them. It's unfair. It's not right.
Yeah, it's terribly sad that this young lady had to face what she faced, and it's so unfortunate. I believe we have a rape culture in this country. We also have a problem with our young men, and men seem to sometimes say all manner of things to women without any regard and without any respect. This is the other reason why the sexual registry should be out there for public consumption. Because if this individual, and I believe that he may have assaulted somebody in the past, if the information was out there, that could, one, be a protection for the young lady and for those who live in the community. And furthermore, we need, like Ferguson said, we need to have more stiffer penalties for these types of acts. I believe that we need to deal with these fellas in a way that they will recognize that this is not tolerated in this country. I mean, it's a shame that a woman cannot go, the woman was already, or the young lady was already facing a challenge. And now it is compounded by this issue that she has to live with for the rest of her life. It's just downright disgrace. And I believe that when this young man is caught, that the law deals with him accordingly and makes sure that he's made an example of for all the other young men, because there's too many instances of this in this country.
Absolutely agree. Well, gentlemen, this has been an issue too that has been just more and more recently, and quite disturbing as well, for those who walk, those who go out exercising, those who frequent even their own yards, just stray dogs. You all know a string of recent dog attacks have left victims hospitalized, some suffering severe and even life-threatening injuries. This is now putting renewed pressure on the government to address the country's stray dog problem. Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources Jomo Campbell says the government is taking the issue seriously, revealing that a new framework aimed at tackling the stray dog issue, including dog attacks, is expected to be rolled out in the coming weeks. Campbell says the government is working alongside key stakeholders to develop a comprehensive response to an issue that he says can no longer be ignored.
Even prior to the recent dog attacks, the ministry, in collaboration with industry stakeholders such as BARC, the Bahamas Humane Society. As a matter of fact, the Animal Control Board just met yesterday. We've been working feverishly to address this plague of stray dogs. I can remember being chased by stray dogs even when I was going to Michael Thompson basketball camp at Donald Davis. And in the very near future, I think as early as next week, we will be inviting the press back to the ministry, not for speeches, but to show them exactly what tangible work is being done. I'm being asked not to let the cat out of the bag right now, but what I will say is that we are taking firm steps. And just as I'm presenting, we are presenting to you today this National Crop Schedule program. We will be in a position to present to you our hard and firm physical response to not just to stray dog attacks, but to illegal backyard breeding.
Well, that's good news, gentlemen. It's something that must be done. Not sure exactly how they plan on tackling it because it's a huge problem that seems to be out of control. But it's good to hear the minister say that, is it not?
First of all, Shanique, I'm happy to hear the minister speak on that. I welcome that. One of the things I want coming out of this right away is dog owners' responsibility. If your yard is unfenced, your animals, your pets on a leash. Other than that, your yard must be walled in or fenced in. Please deal with the owners of these pets. That's key.
Yeah, Shanique, I think is, one thing, I've known a lot of persons in a lot of communities throughout who would have reached out to animal control. And of course, the excuse has always been they never, they don't either, whether it be no transportation or things that I saw, just never a no-show. It's like it was never of no importance. I think the minister has a big task ahead, that being, to get those who have sat on their ass for I don't know how long, for many, many years, and have not actually done the work that they've been being paid to do, to get them actually out there to do, what is needed to be done in these communities. But, it's a serious, because right now it has gotten, there are so many, dogs out there that just have no owners. They are just running wild. They would have been, one dog who might have an owner had puppies. Those puppies went out through other communities and they started breeding and they just bred. And it's, now it's just gotten out of control. And then you have other cases where you have actual owners who do, they own up to the dogs, but the dogs are not fenced in. They don't treat them as how they need to be treated. They should not own a dog.
Yeah, it's very sad that these dogs are roaming the streets. And unfortunately, these dogs are innocent in this whole thing. Dogs do what they do. They're animals, right? And the sad part is that we don't take care of the animals, and it's reflected in how we take care of ourselves. It's just unfortunate, and I believe that this is a good opportunity to correct this issue, and hopefully it'll be corrected in a positive way.
We all hope so, and it's a huge task, gentlemen. We all know that. Huge, nationwide, in fact. So we'll see exactly how the ministry plans on approaching it. I thank you very much. Of course, at the top of tonight's show, Kyle Wilson, the president of the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union, stopping by to talk about that overtime pay. I forgot to ask him did he work those hours, but you heard exactly where he took that discussion. Also, of course, I thank you very much, Michael Turnquest, Ellington Ferguson, Glenroy Pratt. Glenroy, what are you saying? I thank you all.
That's a low blow.
I had to get something in, but I thank you all so much for being here, including, of course, Kyle Wilson. Thank you very much. And to all of you who watched, who participated, who sent a ton of messages, because you all we all are heated and want to know what's happening. Thank you all so much for participating. I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.